Yeah, book nerds, when this video goes up, it will be deer hunting season, at least where I live in Minnesota, it will be. And as I'm recording this, I have been preparing this week to leave. I'm recording this on Tuesday and I leave on Friday, the day before deer opener. So I'm preparing for my hunting trip. I love to hunt, and it is one of the few other hobbies that I do besides read. And I'm even wearing a sweatshirt that I usually wear when I'm deer hunting, just to kind of get me in the mood for hunting. And it says, I'll work all day for a buck. And I've got to get my deer this year. I have been deer hunting since I was 12. I've only ever missed 3 seasons, and those were because of having babies. And so I'm excited to get back in the stand, and I need to stock my freezer. So I need to get a deer. I have not had venison in a couple of years because it's been a few years since I've gone. So I am excited. I do apologize if my voice sounds kind of odd in this video. There's been a cold going through my family, and I have it too, but I'm feeling fine, just my voice. But what does deer hunting have to do with reading? Why am I talking about this on my booktube channel? Well, sometimes I get bored in my deer stand, so I sometimes read in my deer stand. So I thought it would be fun to just kind of think back over the years and go over some of the books that I remember reading in my deer stand. Now, I don't have a book for every deer season that I've hunted because some years it was way too cold to read in my stand, so I did not. And other years, I read books for college or for high school, and so I don't actually have those books because they're textbooks or things like that, class novels that we were reading. So I didn't always read something personal to me. And honestly, thinking back over the years is kind of hard, and I sometimes didn't remember which books I was reading. Some I did and some I did on haul. So I don't have a book for every year, but I'm just going to go over the ones that stood out to me that I remember reading in my stand. And I kind of always associate that with that book now because it was just part of my reading experience. I read a lot of it outside in nature, so it became part of my reading experience. So we'll start with my first ever year deer hunting. When I was 12, I read Twilight. I remember this vividly because it was my first year hunting, and I was not good at sitting in my stand. So my dad actually told me to bring my book out so that I would be able to sit still for longer periods of time. I was a new hunter. So yeah, I remember vividly bringing Twilight into the deer stand with me. This is not the same copy that I took out there because I borrowed that copy to somebody else and it came back ruined. So this is a new copy since then. But yeah, Twilight. It's got the gray vibes. I don't know, the rainy outside kind of vibes anyway with this book. So it fit nicely with reading it in my deer stand. There's quite a few years where I don't remember what I read, or I know I read books for school, like high school in there. But the next book that I still own that I remember reading in my deer stand was actually when I was 17, I started reading the Bible. I was going through a lot emotionally and religiously and questioning a lot of things, so I decided to pick up my Bible and read it cover to cover. This is the same edition. It is very worn, but it is much loved. I was reading the Old Testament when I was in my deer stand, so I kind of associate the Old Testament readings with being outside, and hunting is a very religious kind of experience for me. It's very spiritual. I feel very connected to nature and very connected to God when I'm out there. So it kind of all ties in for me. When I was in college, I don't remember exactly how old I was, but when I was in undergrad, I remember I was reading the Divergent series during deer hunting, and I was actually reading Insurgent, the second book. And you can tell that I read this in my deer stand. I don't know if it'll show up on the video very well, but down here is like sun bleached from me reading outside with it. It used to be a lot greener and it kind of got a little sun damage to it. But this was interesting to read outside. I just wish my book wouldn't have gotten sun damage, but hey, it all, like I said, became part of the reading experience, and now it's kind of imprinted on my copy of the book. Then we have Different Seasons by Stephen King. I believe I was reading Shawshank Redemption when I was in my deer stand. Maybe I finished Shawshank Redemption and started Apt Pupil, because I feel like I might have been reading both of those. So maybe I finished one and started the other in my deer stand. But very good, very spooky, you know, like sitting outside, especially like in the evening times, getting some nature involved in my read. You know, it was right after Halloween, so I was still in that spooky mood anyway. And this cover like just feels very like fall, very woodsy. I mean, I was in the woods, so nice. On my last hunting trip that I went on, which was in 2021, because I missed 22 and I missed 23 because of having kids. So in 2021, I was reading Glenn Sheen's Daughter, the Marjorie Congdon story, which is by Sharon Darby Hendry. This is a nonfiction, and again, I was reading this because like it's about a murder, so like Halloween vibes, but also nonfiction November, so I was reading a nonfiction, and this was awesome. This book was written beautifully. I loved it, and the story was just wild. And so reading about it's a murder that had happened in Duluth, Minnesota, at the Glenn Sheen Mansion, if you are familiar. And I was not in Duluth, but I was in northern Minnesota hunting. So like I was just feeling the vibes, totally feeling the vibes. So those are the ones that I remember that I still have on my shelves that I read in my deer stand. There's a couple other books that I remember reading in my stand, but I don't have copies of them anymore. So I'm not going to talk about them because I don't have them on my shelves anymore. So what am I going to read this year as I'm planning my trip? Well, I am still reading A Clockwork Orange, and I am almost done with it though. So like I might finish this beforehand. We'll just have to see. If I don't, then I'm definitely bringing this to read in my stand. And honestly, if I don't finish it before I leave, I will probably finish it in my deer stand. So we'll see. I've got a lot of stuff to do for grad school though before I leave, so I may not finish it. You know, grad school always getting in the way of my reading time because I have to read stuff for that. So it takes up my time. Gosh, stupid grad school. If I do finish this though, I am planning to bring something else up. As of this moment in time, what I am thinking of reading, no guarantees. If I change my mind before I leave, I might switch it up. But at this point in time of filming, I'm going for a complete change in direction here, and I am going to be bringing A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens to kind of get me ready for Christmas. Like, I know it's November, but Christmas is right around the corner, and I'm kind of feeling this right now. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if I change my mind. We shall see what I read in my deer stand this year. But that's the way it's looking right now. If you're a hunter, I would love to know if you read in your deer stand. When I first started doing it, it was more to keep me sitting still. Now that I'm a mature hunter, I can sit still without reading, but I still just get enjoyment out of reading outside. So I still do it just because I like it. So I definitely don't need to read in my deer stand, and especially in cold years, like I don't because it's too cold to hold the book. But when it's nice out, I just enjoy it. And it all just becomes part of my reading experience with that book. So let me know if you do that as well. I'm very interested to know. And if you have any recommendations for good books to read while deer hunting, I would be interested in that for future years. To all you hunters out there, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you get a deer. I hope I get a deer. It would be awesome if I did. But you know what? I can't even complain if I don't get a deer because I got my trophy buck already. I got a 15-point buck when I was 19. That was in 2014. So it was my first year of college and I got a 15-point buck, and that is the biggest record in the party that I hunt in my family. Like, yeah, I hold the record, so like I can't even complain if I don't get a deer, but I would still love to get a deer because I love venison. We eat what we hunt, so nothing goes to waste, and I would love to stock my freezer. So good luck to all you hunters. Be safe out there. If you're going into the woods, if you're not hunting, wear bright colors. Like, be safe. Hunters are going to be in the woods. Be safe and wear your bright colors so you can be easily seen. If you go out in the woods and you see a hunter, make sure they know you're there. Talk to them. Make sure they see you. Like, we don't want any accidents at all. Like, that would be terrible. So be safe, have fun, good luck. Happy hunting. That's all I've got for you this week, and I will see you again soon. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for talking books with me.